You have to leave here. There's no room. There's no place. Do you understand that?
I see that now, but I don't understand. Why not?
I think it's time I cut out now.
Don't be a drag. You know how you flip me.
I'm hip.
The 1950s had painted a simple picture on America's television screens, one filled with perfect families, Wild West shootouts, and quiz show dreams. But in 1959, one series dared to show us something different. A world where suburban comfort masked cosmic horror, where everyday people faced impossible choices, and where the greatest monsters weren't aliens or creatures, but the darkness within ourselves. Welcome to Past America, where today we're diving into the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone.
The series that changed to television forever. Picture this. It's 1959. Rod Serling, already a respected television writer, had grown frustrated with network censorship. His attempts to address serious social issues in traditional dramas were constantly being watered down or blocked entirely. The solution? Wrap those same messages in the Trojan horse of science fiction and fantasy. CBS, impressed by Serling's reputation and the success of his pilot episode, Where is Everybody? Zrina gave him creative control of a weekly anthology series with a budget of $50,000 per episode, a considerable sum for 1959 television. The timing was perfect. The late 1950s saw Americans grappling with profound questions about humanity's place in the universe. Sputnik was orbiting overhead, nuclear tensions were rising, and social changes were brewing beneath the surface of conformist culture. While most television offered escape from these anxieties, The Twilight Zone dared to explore them head-on. Initial reactions were mixed. Critics praised the show's sophisticated writing and production values, but early ratings were modest. Viewers, accustomed to more straightforward entertainment, didn't quite know what to make of these twisted tales. The first episode drew a 20.7 rating share. Respectable, but not spectacular for prime time. Yet, something fascinating was happening. People weren't just watching The Twilight Zone. They were talking about it, debating its meanings, and being genuinely unsettled by its implications. What set The Twilight Zone apart wasn't just its supernatural premises, it was how it used them. While other science fiction shows of the era, like Science Fiction Theater and Tales of Tomorrow, often relied on rubber monsters and alien invasions, Serling's creation focused on human nature itself. Each episode was a carefully crafted morality play, using the fantastic to explore the all-too-real. The show's anthology format was another bold choice. At a time when television was built on familiar characters and continuing stories, The Twilight Zone asked viewers to invest in new characters and situations every week. The only constant was Serling himself, stepping into frame as our guide through this strange new dimension. It was a risky approach that would influence television storytelling for decades to come. But what truly distinguished The Twilight Zone was its refusal to talk down to its audience. While other shows played it safe, Serling's creation tackled racism, conformity, war, and human nature itself. The network executives who had once censored Serling's work barely noticed the social commentary wrapped in these supernatural tales. Viewers, however, recognized the truth beneath the fantasy, and they were ready for television that made them think as well as feel. In television's golden age, technical innovation usually meant finding new ways to film living rooms and game show sets. But The Twilight Zone had grander ambitions. Under the guidance of cinematographer George T. Clemens, the show didn't just push television's technical boundaries, it shattered them. Enter the show's signature visual style, born from necessity and innovation. With a modest budget of $50,000 per episode, Clemens and his team had to be creative. They borrowed techniques from film noir, using stark lighting and deep shadows to transform simple sets into otherworldly spaces. A standard CBS soundstage could become anything: a distant planet, a nightmare dimension, or the depths of human consciousness. What made Clement's work revolutionary was his understanding that less could be more, while other shows of the era tried to dazzle with crude special effects. The Twilight Zone relied on suggestion and atmosphere. Take The After Hours, where department store mannequins come to life. Instead of complex mechanical effects, Clemens used subtle lighting changes and careful camera angles to make ordinary mannequins seem increasingly menacing. The show's practical effects, while modest by today's standards, were groundbreaking for television. The team developed new techniques for creating supernatural phenomena on a budget. In The Eye of the Beholder, they used light and shadow to hide the actors' faces until the shocking reveal. For Little Girl Lost, they built a rotating room to create the illusion of a child passing through a wall into another dimension. Perhaps most innovative was the show's use of kinescope recording. While most television was still broadcasting live, The Twilight Zone was among the first shows to be consistently filmed. This allowed for more complex visual effects, multiple takes, and a cinematic quality that set it apart from its contemporaries. The preserved film quality is why the show still looks remarkably good today, while many of its contemporaries are lost to time or exist only in degraded formats. The title sequence itself was a testament to the show's technical ambition. The original featured abstract shapes and unsettling imagery, but by season 2, it evolved into the iconic swirling vortex and floating door that would become television history. Created using practical effects and careful camera work, it set the tone for the uncanny stories that followed. Sound design played a crucial role too. The show pioneered new techniques for creating otherworldly audio effects. The iconic theme music, composed by Marius Constant, wasn't just background noise. It was carefully crafted to create tension and unease. The show's audio team developed new methods for creating supernatural sounds, from alien spacecraft to the whispers of the dead. When you look at modern anthology series, you can see the Twilight Zone's technical DNA everywhere. From Black Mirror to American Horror Story, they're all building on the foundation that Serling's team laid down. Every shadow, every unusual camera angle, every subtle special effect, it all traces back to what a group of innovative craftsmen created on a modest budget in 1959. The Twilight Zone's greatness wasn't just in its writing or technical innovations, it was in its performances. And at the center of it all was Rod Serling himself. Not just as creator, but as television's most distinctive host. His clip delivery, intense gaze, and perfectly tailored suit became the show's human anchor, making the impossible seem plausible through sheer force of personality. But what made Serling's hosting revolutionary was how he didn't just introduce the stories. He gave them weight, credibility, and moral urgency. The show's anthology format attracted an incredible array of talent. Before they were stars, William Shatner, Robert Redford, and Burt Reynolds all passed through the fifth dimension. But what's remarkable is how these performances differed from their other work. Take Shatner in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Years before Star Trek, he delivered a masterclass in psychological breakdown, playing a man who sees a monster on the wing of his airplane. It's a performance that required him to be simultaneously sympathetic and unhinged, rational and hysterical. Burgess Meredith appeared in 4 episodes, each one a showcase for his versatility. In Time Enough at Last, he created one of television's most heartbreaking characters, a bookworm who survives a nuclear apocalypse only to break his glasses when he finally has time to read. The final scene, with Meredith among the ruins of a library, remains one of television's most powerful moments. The show demanded a unique style of acting. These weren't typical television performances. Actors had to make audiences believe in impossible situations while keeping their characters grounded in reality. Agnes Moorehead's nearly dialogue-free performance in The Invaders showed how much could be conveyed without words. Her battle with tiny aliens becomes a masterpiece of physical acting. Character actors found some of their greatest roles here. Jack Klugman appeared in 4 episodes, each one showcasing his ability to play ordinary men in extraordinary circumstances. In A Game of Pool, his pool player challenging death himself becomes a meditation on excellence and obsession. The episode works because Klugman makes us believe in both the reality of the game and the supernatural stakes. Art Carney's portrayal of a drunken department store Santa in Night of the Meek demonstrated how the Twilight Zone could blend the fantastic with the deeply human. His transformation from a broken man to a real Santa Claus works because Carney grounds the miracle in genuine human pain and hope. What made these performances special was how they worked together with the show's themes. The actors weren't just telling supernatural stories, they were exploring what it means to be human when faced with the impossible. When Cliff Robertson realizes he's reliving his past in 100 yards over the rim, his performance captures both the wonder and terror of confronting the unknown. The legacy of these performances lives on in how modern anthology series approach acting. When you watch Black Mirror or American Horror Story, you're seeing actors following the path blazed by the Twilight Zone's cast, making the impossible feel devastatingly real. The Twilight Zone story isn't just about what appeared on screen. It's about the various versions that emerged over time. The original broadcasts from 1959 to 1964 looked different from what many viewers know today. Initial episodes were sponsored by Sanka Coffee and Liggett and Myers Tobacco, with Serling himself delivering commercial messages, a practice that would later be edited out for syndication. The first syndication package in 1965 made significant changes. Episodes were cut to accommodate more advertising time, sometimes losing crucial character moments or plot details. The famous "Where is Everybody?" pilot was trimmed by nearly 3 minutes. These syndicated versions became the standard way most viewers experienced the show through the 1970s and 1980s. Then, in 1981, something remarkable happened. As cable television emerged, demand for the original, uncut episodes grew. Networks like the Sci-Fi channel began airing restored versions, allowing audiences to see scenes that had been missing for decades. The restoration revealed new layers to familiar stories, subtle character moments, extended dialogue scenes, and even alternate endings that changed how viewers interpreted certain episodes. Beyond the editing changes, different markets received different episode orders. Some stations would only air the half-hour episodes, skipping the hour-long episodes from season 4 entirely. Others would mix episodes from different seasons, creating unique viewing experiences. This led to fascinating regional variations in how audiences encountered the series. The show's reception evolved dramatically over time. Initial reviews often focused on its entertainment value, missing the deeper social commentary. But as years passed, critics began recognizing the show's prescience. Episodes like The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, about paranoia and scapegoating, or Number 12 Looks Just Like You, about conformity and beauty standards, seemed to become more relevant with each passing decade. Hidden details emerged too. Sharp-eyed viewers noticed recurring props and sets, creating fan theories about connections between episodes. The famous Ghost Town, set from Where is Everybody?, would appear again in multiple episodes, suggesting possible links between stories. Even Serling's introductions contained subtle clues and references that viewers are still discovering today. Perhaps most fascinating is how different generations have found new meanings in the same episodes. Time Enough, at Last, reads differently in our digital age. The Lonely, about a convicted criminal and his robot companion, takes on new significance as AI technology advances. Like the best science fiction, The Twilight Zone seems to anticipate not just technological changes, but the moral questions they would raise. The show's preservation quality varies too. Some episodes exist in pristine condition, while others show their age. Yet these imperfections have become part of the viewing experience, adding to the show's otherworldly atmosphere. In a way, watching The Twilight Zone today is like receiving a transmission from another time, complete with all the static and interference that implies. Some shows predict the future, others shape it. The Twilight Zone did both. Here we are, over 6 decades later, and this series' influence is everywhere. Not just in television and film, but in how we think about storytelling, morality, and the boundaries between reality and imagination. Look at any modern anthology series, Black Mirror's technological parables, American Horror Story's seasonal reinventions, Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone reboot. They're all following Serling's blueprint. The anthology format, once considered risky, has become a powerful tool for addressing contemporary fears and anxieties. Shows like Inside Number 9 and Love, Death and Robots are direct descendants of Serling's vision. But what makes The Twilight Zone truly prophetic isn't its format, it's its themes. Episodes about technology controlling our lives, social media-style conformity, and artificial intelligence could air today with minimal updates. The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street feels like a warning about modern political polarization. Number 12 looks just like you, predicted our obsession with filtered, perfect images decades before Instagram. The show's influence on horror and science fiction can't be overstated. Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, and George R.R. Martin have all cited it as a major influence. The twist ending, now almost a cliché, was perfected in Twilight Zone episodes. Every "it was Earth all along," or "they were dead the whole time," revelation owes a debt to Serling's mastery of the narrative surprise. Even the way we talk about strange or inexplicable events invokes the show. Feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone has entered common speech, joining Shakespeare and the Bible as sources of everyday English phrases. The iconic theme music and Serling's opening narration are instantly recognizable, even to people who've never seen an episode. In our current era of peak TV and streaming wars, The Twilight Zone's achievement seems even more remarkable. Without graphic violence, explicit content, or huge budgets, it created stories that still resonate. Its special effects may look dated, but its ideas feel more relevant than ever. As we grapple with artificial intelligence, social media bubbles, and virtual reality, Serling's stories about human nature in the face of the unknown seem less like science fiction and more like prophecy. Today, as we stand at the threshold of new technological and social frontiers, The Twilight Zone remains our guidebook to the unknown. Its greatest legacy isn't just its influence on television, it's how it taught us to question reality, challenge assumptions, and face our deepest fears. In a world that increasingly resembles science fiction, we need Serling's moral clarity and humane vision more than ever. Like the dimension it depicted, The Twilight Zone exists beyond the boundaries of time. It's not just a TV show from the past. It's a window into our present and a warning about our future. The real question is, are we ready to heed its lessons? If you enjoyed this deep dive into The Twilight Zone, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments which episode keeps you up at night. And stay tuned. We've got more hidden television gems to explore here on Past America.